legs aren't good. Just so you know. But you're. I'd like to get a motion to adjourn the executive or the special meeting of the governing board.
So made.
Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye. 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 We will start the general meeting in about 5 minutes.
I know, it's okay, Kelly.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ron will be up. Oh, there he is.
That pen
Okay, hey, thanks, Ron. I want to call the order. We have a special public hearing of the governing board. Roll call, all board members are present. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, one item on the agenda, it's item 4A, fiscal year 2015 expenditure budget revision.
President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr. Weitenheimer. This is not deja vu. We just did a budget revision for fiscal year 16, budget revision number 1. This is budget revision number 2 because thankfully Proposition 123 passed, and included in that was the provision that allowed us to revise our budget as a result of Proposition 123 up until June 30th. So that we don't add more confusion to all this, we bring before you the budget revision for fiscal year 16 because on June 28th, when we reconvene for the next regularly scheduled meeting, we'll be bringing you the proposed fiscal year 17 expenditure budget. Just want to recognize Mr. Dale Splitberger and Ms. Heather Mock, who I believe are in the audience, if they're not done with their extracurricular activities from earlier. As they were the ones that helped put this all together. So this is, again, necessary as a result of Proposition 123 passing, and this is kind of the long and short of it. Proposition 123 increased $6.7 million. That's slightly higher than what we projected in fiscal year 17 because there's an inflationary amount included in this that was already built into our first pass of the budget for fiscal year 17. So we are using $6.1 million in the building of the budget for fiscal year 17. It works out to be about $6.7 million for fiscal year 16. And again, on the uses side, $3.1 million will be used in capital expenses, $3 million for the one-time longevity pay to employees based on their years of experience as identified in their employee ID. Leaving an unallocated amount of $624,000, which will help us with the budget balance carry forward that we need to be able to help balance the budget for next year. So that's makes up the amount. Just a point that I wanted to make as one of the provisions that was in this particular initiative was that they allowed for unlimited carry forward for us from fiscal year 16 into fiscal year 17, realizing that it would be difficult for us to spend the proceeds of Proposition 123 on such short notice. So in the board packet are the actual state forms. We'll be including the full amount in the maintenance and operation budget, and then we'll be moving the $3.1 million in capital expenses when we do the proposed budget for fiscal year 17 because those capital expenses will come out of fiscal year 17. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions regarding this? Seeing none, I open a call to the public. Any questions from anyone? If so, please go up to the podium. Seeing none, no questions. I would, this is a public hearing, and I think we satisfied our legal right to publish and acknowledge the new budget. With that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, do we have somebody who wants to speak?
Take that back.
Go ahead, at the podium, please.
I have a question, I guess, regarding the capital expenses and what those would be.
President Gregoire, we need her to state her name, please.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry, my name is Janine Franson. I'm a teacher at Sonoran Foothills.
Jim, can you address that?
I'd be happy to. So as we previously reported, the capital expenses that are included in here, $3.1 million. $1 million of that is to backfill for the M&O override increase that we moved from $4.2 million to $5.2 million. So in order to have a balanced fiscal year 17 capital budget, we needed $1 million of the fiscal year 16 Prop 123. $1 million is for additional buses. I believe that will be about 6 buses that we can afford with the $1 million. And the final $1.1 million will be for a textbook adoption for next year. The $1.1 million is not the full amount. It's 1.1 plus an allocation of fiscal year 17 capital of 1.2 for a total of $2.3 million in textbook adoptions for next year.
Okay. Any other questions yet?
Is it appropriate to ask, I have a question regarding payment on the Proposition 123 calculator. Is this an appropriate time, or should I wait till public comment?
This is not the payment. Oh, no, this is not that. This is, unless it's the one-time payment, because this is only for this fiscal year, not for 16, 17.
Okay, all right.
So if, yeah, we'll be talking about that later at another meeting as well, so. Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, let's go back to motion to adjourn. Can
Motion to adjourn.
I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're going to go directly into our public meeting, regular meeting of the governing board. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. All board members are present. I was going to ask for a motion to adopt the agenda, but I think there was a couple requests before I do that. Ms. Ordway, you had a request?
The assistant principals are part of the human resources, so I'm going to just leave it there. There's no reason to take it away from that.
Okay, so just leave it there?
Yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there are no awards and achievements. This is Monica's vacation day, I guess. So with that, we go directly to governing board reports, and we'll start with Mrs. Ordway.
Well, I got to attend some fabulous graduations. One, of course, was my son's, which I'm not going to say it was the best, but it was awesome. Shout out to Karen Meyer for all the work that she puts in behind the scenes the months before. And she's probably on a beach now, not working on it again yet. I also wanted to thank her personally for her work on improving the seating for those with disabilities. In my family, I have 5 people with disabilities, and when my daughter graduated, she left that responsibility up to the employees of the Cardinal Stadium, and they did not take their responsibilities that seriously. So this year, with Aaron Michael graduating, she made that part of our employees' responsibilities. So not only was my family, but there are a few other families that had a very smooth seating arrangement to watch their loved ones graduate. So with that, also, I do know that we've been having some spectacular stuff going on with our summer school camps and programs. For agenda review, I do know that we've been taking turns, different board members with agenda review, with Mr. Bear's inability to attend them. So I would like to attend agenda review for the month of August and October, if possible. I've also thought about the vouchers as we go forward. Mrs. O'Brien has not done vouchers, and vouchers are a public document. So I do notice that Ms. Fisher's initials are on the vouchers and that Mr. Bear signs them. Whether they do it together or not, I don't know. But I would like to have the opportunity for Mrs. O'Brien and myself to go through that exercise with her for the next 6 months or the next few months, however that works. And that will conclude.
Okay, we'll take that into
Thank you.
Mrs. O'Brien.
Oh, sorry, President Gregoire. First of all, you were missed at our graduation ceremonies, President Gregoire. It was a privilege to be able to attend the district's 8th grade promotions and high school graduations. These incredible events where students who were sometimes the first high school graduates in their family to Flynn scholars, students entering the military, one student who was overcoming a debilitating illness yet still was on stage of her own accord. Many AIA state champions, a CMT recording artist, and so many others that were recognized and able to celebrate their academic, athletic, and extracurricular accomplishment caused me to pause and reflect on my role as a governing board member in Deer Valley. Being a governing board member is a servant leader role that allows me to advocate and fight for our most vulnerable community members, children. This is my passion, and being able to attend and share in the district celebrations is a privilege. And these celebrations reminded me that no matter what district event I'm at, but especially at graduations, the most important people in the room are always the students, their families, and our district teachers and staff. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of these momentous occasions. I'm looking forward to attending the National School Board Association Equity and Advocacy Symposiums later this week with my fellow, a couple of my fellow board members. And I hope that we can have either a study session or at least agenda items, depending on what all we are able to learn, so that we can share that with everybody, including district administration. Thank you, President Gregoire.
Sounds good. Mrs. Fisher.
I guess for the graduations, I'm going to have to say ditto. I don't know. A lot of people will ask, why do you do this? You know, why do you kind of put up with different things, or why do you do what you do? And I have to tell you, just before graduations, I too am asking myself, what am I thinking? And then you attend a graduation. Whether it's the 8th grade promotions or it's the high school graduations, and you see that's why. They're the reason, they're the purpose, and it gives you new life. It really does. I've spent a lot of time reviewing various legislations, both federal and state, with various employee stakeholders in Deer Valley and within my own district that I work for, so that I can have a solid understanding of the areas that are not in my specialty, so that we can truly advocate for positive legislation. A lot of people don't realize it comes down to what our legislators or our congressmen do. I found some wonderful maybe tools to take and speak with our elected officials, because I don't know that they realize that you put this out there, but you haven't funded it in X amount of years, or you haven't increased it while the rate of inflation has increased. So some of those are really wonderful tools, and I appreciate all the staff that have met with me. There's a lot of them. The second thing I want to thank Ms. O'Brien. Her and I were able to attend the legislative committee. And I did have meetings, so I needed to leave. We made it halfway through the agenda, and she has agreed to fill me in on the second half that I was not able to stay for, so that I can be prepared for the delegate assembly at the end of the year. So I did want to thank her for agreeing to update me on the parts that I missed. I wasn't going to talk about this, but this is one thing that has been a concern, and since Ms. Ordway has brought it up, we have very clear policy, and I really appreciate that Mr. Gregoire or President Gregoire has been including Ms. O'Brien and myself, so that should all 3 seats turn over, we're able to fill in for those positions. Agenda review in our policy is very clear. It falls to the board president, and I really think that we should start honoring our policy. And as far as the vouchers, the reason I've been reviewing them is because I happen to be in school finance and an accountant, and Mr. Bayer had asked for my assistance with just making sure that he has a full understanding for anything that he may miss. But that too is very clear in policy that it is with the vice president, and we have one vice president, which is Mr. Bayer. And I think if we are going to consider a change, we should consider honoring our policy as it is, and sticking with that. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Baer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, first thing I'd like to talk about is the 4 of us, other than yourself, because you couldn't be there, unfortunately, did go to all of the graduations, and they were absolutely fabulous. Personally, I can still hear pomp and circumstance at night when I go to bed, so I'm working on getting past that. I also went over to Paseo Hills for their 8th grade promotion ceremony. That was also a lot of fun. Now, a couple things. I have an agenda request. And the agenda request well, I'm sorry, it's not an agenda request, just a request that we once again have a study session with our attorney where we talk about board roles and all that, including this time potentially what would constitute any kind of abuse of power by a board member. Now, as far as the vouchers, I think it's absolutely incredible that now you want to do vouchers, Ms. Ordway, because in your entire tenure on this board, you've never done those. And as of a year ago in January, when we discussed this, you sat there and said, well, you didn't understand why
Point
we
of
wanted
order.
to do that.
That's not.
That's,
Point of order.
hey, let's
That's the
just-
comment I'll make on that.
Okay, let's keep it on, okay. Hello. I unfortunately couldn't make the graduations, had a personal commitment, and that's one of my favorite things of doing. That's the whole reason I run for the board, so I can watch the kids graduate, but no, seriously. Anyway, it's good to see all our kids graduate, and the reason they're there is because everybody here. And again, I want to thank you all for the hard work you do, because I think we had record-setting years in scholarships and every measure you can make, and it seems to keep getting better and better, so I want to thank you. But I also have a couple other items. I got this nice letter from the Government Finance Office talking about Mr. Dale Splitberger, Director of Finance. We're getting some Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is from, I guess, the Federal Government Finance Officers Association. So Dale, congratulations. That means we're doing something right there. Monica wasn't here to have you stand there, but we're gonna all embarrass you anyway, so. And in that same letter, it mentions Mr. Jim Miglerino for award-winning CAFR, which is Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting as well. So to both of you, awesome job. Again, thanks for what you do. And with that, I'll move on to the superintendent.
I have no report tonight, so we can move to a report by the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Group. Dr. Galligan.
Good evening, President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr. Beitenheimer. This evening, Dr. Melissa McCusker, Director of Student Support Services, will present information about the DVUSD Parent Advisory Council, also known as PAC, and their work with us and our community this year.
Good evening, President Gregoire, Vice President Bear, and governing board members. I am always happy to present and discuss with you. Tonight, we're going to celebrate the Parent Advisory Committee, and I do have some members here that I will recognize later. So our desired outcomes for the presentation, we're going to talk about the purpose of our Parent Advisory Council, celebrations from this school year, and as I said earlier, recognition of PAC members. So the Parent Advisory Council, if you did not know, the purpose of the Parent Advisory Council is to really invite positive parental involvement from our district parents of students who have disabilities. And so we are very happy and privileged to have those members work with us. Some of the projects that we worked on this year, first and foremost, we wanted to celebrate the Student Support Services video. And the reason for the creation of this video was really to provide input and support for specific focus groups, our preschool families, our families that are new to our district, and of course our students and families that are initial placements into special education. So if you would just take a note, we will watch the video that was created with the PAC.
Hello, my name is Dr. Melissa McCusker, and I am the proud Director of Student Support Services in Deer Valley Unified School District. There are many diverse levels of support available to you and your family through our department that you will learn more about in this video. Please know that we are here to support the academic and social growth for your child with you as a partner. Academically, Deer Valley Unified School District is proud to embrace inclusive practice. Inclusive practice allows for the structuring of collaborative classes, extracurricular activities, and small group activities so that students of all ability levels, with and without disabilities, are educated together. Instruction is differentiated to meet the needs of all students. Accommodations and modifications are made for equitable access to grade level curriculum.
My name is Maddie. I'm a senior at Mountain Ridge High School. I was the varsity volleyball team manager. I am more comfortable and confident. I feel popular and loved.
I'm Rachel, a graduate of Mountain Ridge High School. I was captain of the varsity volleyball team, a member of Best Buddies, and a teacher assistant of a special education reading class. This past year, one of my lifelong friends, Maddie, was our volleyball manager. She opened up to everyone and learned how to talk in front of a big group. This experience was great for Maddie and life-changing for me and our team. Maddie taught us that no matter what challenges you face or fears you have, you can do anything with love, perseverance, and the right attitude. Being a TA and in Best Buddies were experiences I will never forget. I loved making friendships and bonding with such fantastic kids.
Hi, I'm Nathan, and some things that I really like about the Deer Valley District is that I've always had so many good friends. They've always been so loyal and kind to me.
How do you feel about going to school every morning?
I like it because everybody helps me, like when I'm stuck on a problem,
How do the other students make you feel?
like part of the classroom.
I'm Amber and I'm a senior at Deer Valley High School. Close relationships with people having special needs has made me who I am today.
My name is Julia Anderson and I'm the transition coordinator for the Deer Valley Unified School District. I'm excited to talk to you about the importance of transition planning and starting early. Remember, you cannot start too early. School is all about preparing for post-secondary, and the key to success in post-secondary life is understanding your disability and advocating for your needs. Students that come from districts that do inclusive practices are giving their students a step ahead in being ready for adult life because they'll be ready to be active members of their communities. If you have any transition-related questions, please feel free to contact me at julia.anderson@dvusd.org. Thank you.
What's your favorite class at school?
PE and math.
Why do you like PE and math?
Because in PE I do the treadmill, push-ups, sit-ups, and weights, and plus the pull-up bar.
And what are you going to do after you graduate?
Find a job.
Like what?
Working at the AMC movie theater in the mall.
My cheerleading friends believe in me.
Hi, I'm Deborah Swatowski, the Parent Liaison for Student Support Services. Parents are a key part of our program. We need your input to provide good resources for all parents. Check out our website, our Inclusive Sparks newsletter, and our Facebook page. We hope you'll join us in our parent training or be a part of our groups to help share information. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you would like more information. I look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, so moving on to our next project, our PAC also worked on the IEP pamphlet creation, and this is a guide that supports parents and families as they're sitting in IEP meetings. It defines roles within student support services as well as tips for conducting a positive IEP meeting. You also have these pamphlets in the folders that have been handed out to you. Another exciting project.
Can I stop you there?
Of course.
How are those pamphlets distributed?
That's an excellent question. Our IEP pamphlets are available not only through our special education strategists, but through those identified groups, as I said earlier, our preschool families, as well as our new families to special education and our new families to Deer Valley. They're always available. We have made copies in student support services, and at the beginning of the school year, we pass those out. As well, if campuses need more copies, they can certainly copy them on their own or reach out to us.
Okay, just my concern is a lot of parents, you're the expert here, but a lot of parents are not in the know, and any help they can get. I like to see us push this stuff out instead of having them try to come find it. So anyway, go ahead.
Absolutely. We try to make it as available as possible. Another exciting project that we're working on with the PAC is Disability Awareness Week, and this is a work in progress and currently is in draft form. Within your folders, you have activities. There are activities and lessons that we have designed with PAC for preschool through 8th grade campuses, as well middle school and high school campuses. And this week will be devoted to awareness for students with disabilities, and our theme is really focusing on what is your superpower, because we all have superpowers, not disabilities. We also have focused on different media resources in our school libraries, and this year PAC distributed books specific to students who have disabilities, and so some of those books are also available for your review, and Kim has copies, and these are a few of the books that are also available in all of our media centers. PAC also provided professional development at our new teacher orientation, and these were for new teachers, new to our district and new to special ed, and had a panel and forum of question and answers that were very useful to our new staff. As well, we provided paraprofessional training, and other school districts seek us out for support and insight to start their own parent advisory councils. I would like to recognize two members who are here tonight for our Parent Advisory Council. The first is Debbie Switalski, and she is our parent liaison. And the second is Lisa Bricker, and she is one of our members. And Lisa's beautiful daughter, Riley, was the cheerleader in the video. I just had to give Riley a shout out. And then finally, if anyone in the audience or governing board members, if you know a positive parent that would like to be a member of PAC, we always would like to welcome that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Thank you.
I have one thing, though. You should probably change the name, because PAC is a political action committee. It might get confusing, just saying.
Okay.
But that's my recommendation. Anything else we'll talk about.
Thank you so much. Okay, Fiscal Business Services, Jim.
President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr. Weitenheimer, we have our two standard reports to share with you this evening. The last day of enrollment, the 180th day, showing a continued 1.1% increase in students, which was pretty consistent through the latter weeks of or even months of the school year. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions regarding the student enrollment report.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none, go ahead.
The second report we have are the financial reports for the month of May. Just note that the May report does include the second budget revision, which is yet to be considered. That's later on the agenda, showing $8 million in projected carry forward. $6.7 million of that is the Prop 123 money that we just spoke about during the public hearing. And just for comparative purposes, we had at the end of April we were at $1.2 million. So that makes up the 1.2 plus the 6.7 makes up the $8 million with the projected carry forward. Again, those monies will be used next year. 3.1 million of it for capital, 3 million for the longevity payment, and the 1.2 or hopefully approaching 1.3 will be used for carry forward to help balance the budget for fiscal year 17. That information will be brought forward at the June 28th meeting for as part of the proposed budget.
Okay, yeah, so the extra amount that I said the state was more right than you, so the state was more right than you?
I'll pass on answering the question.
Well, not anything personal, but it's nice to see an extra 600,000. And so, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, let's move on to old business. Approved 2016-17 certified classified negotiated language. Ron, can you give us a motion here?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. For item number 7A, I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the 2016-17 certified and classified negotiated language tentative agreement number 65.
I'll second.
Okay, with that, any conversation? Now, I do have numerous requests to speak by the six different ones, but I think it's the next item, correct, about salary recommendation. So I didn't read all of them, but I just want to make sure there are none here. So seeing there are none, any comments?
I just want to, just for the record, before we vote, that we did receive in our Friday update that adopting it as is will not prevent us from establishing committees at our discretion. Just for the record, wanted to note that.
Okay. Call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, item 7B, approve the revised 16-17 salary recommendation. Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the revised 2016-17 salary recommendation.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there much to be said here, Jim, or do you want me to invite the public to speak?
President Gregoire, if you don't mind, just to give this some context, I'll let you know kind of how we got to where we are and what we are proposing this evening, and then I think it would be helpful to hear the comments. So as part of the salary recommendation that was originally approved back on May 3rd, we unintentionally excluded some employees in what was specifically written into the salary recommendation. If you remember, that was a late night. We worked for several hours and came up with some language. And again, as a result of that process, we unintentionally left out some people specifically. So we wanted to come back and actually include that group of people. Those employees fall under what we call the other professional staff salary schedule. And there's an array of positions that are on the other professional staff salary schedule. So this is not an exhaustive list, but includes such positions as counselors, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech teachers, psychologists, just to name a few. And as a result of that, we had some initial conversations with the NST team about the fact that they were unintentionally left out. We crafted some language, and that was shared electronically with the NST group. And we used a negative poll, meaning that we asked if there were any objections to the change in language, so that because this was all determined after Prop 123 was passed, and that we fell up against the end of the school year trying to make this correction. So with all that being said, we took the methodology that we used for the teachers, and we tried to create something very similar for all of these other positions within the other professional staff employees that did not specifically have any language for us to follow in what was previously approved by the board. As you remember, one of the key components of the teacher recommendation was to deal with the inconsistencies in the salary amounts based on years of service for the teachers, what became the infamous scatter plot. In this particular case, there are a couple of these groups of position where there's only a handful of people within there, so it doesn't have the same data set that the teacher group had to be able to use a scatter plot to determine. But we did take a look at the variation of salary amounts by years of service, and we didn't see the inconsistencies that we saw with the teacher salaries that we had many conversations about. As a result of that, what we've recommended is a $500 flat increase, which was the same flat increase that was provided for the teachers. And we've done some math very similar to what we did with the teacher salaries, that if a hard-to-fill addenda was in place, we've moved that hard-to-fill addenda amount. If the amount was greater than the $2,000 hard-to-fill addenda amount that we are proposing by position, we've moved that amount into their base salary because that will be a future benefit for employees. Hard-to-fill addendas do not change from year to year, but base salaries are subject to any salary increases. And as a result of that, it's approximately a $220,000 to $240,000 cost to be able to provide a $2,000 hard-to-fill addenda by position for all those positions within the other professional staff that qualify, as well as the $500 flat increase for those that qualify for it. And that is the revision that we're suggesting or asking the board to consider this evening.
Okay, with that, I'm going to invite the public to speak. Do we have the admonishment? Oh, here we go. Mr. Bear, could you read that first? Then I'll announce the names.
Certainly, Mr. President. The board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any agenda item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing their name, address, and topic, and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes, if necessary. If necessary, to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, and disruptive conduct or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda.
Okay, with that, I'm going to call it out in order, and then between each speaker, I'll update the order. First up, Janine Ryan Franson, then Kendra Berngard, Ann Olson, Chris Terry, Deanna Sandos, I can't read those last few letters, sorry, and Gary Zenbach. Sorry, I can't read your last. Okay, when you come to the podium, state your name, and then you have 3 minutes to speak your piece. So thank you. Go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Janine Franson. Sorry for my misstep earlier. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Sonoran Foothills. I've been a member of our Prague Handbook Committee. I'm a very committed staff member. I've taught for 15 years, and I've taught for 10 years. This will be my 10th year in Deer Valley. And I've come tonight to voice a concern that my colleagues and I have recently discovered, and that it's affecting many teachers on my campus and probably many others. But in early May, we were given information to calculate our salaries on the Proposition 123 calculator on the portal. And I was sure there was a mistake when my professional development line showed that I had completed 14 hours. You see, I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in elementary education, a full gifted endorsement, and have received university credit for taking NASA courses for educators. I should have 50 hours of professional development counted on this calculator. I notified the district about what I thought was a mistake, and much to my surprise, I was told that this was not an error and that the calculator was correct and that I was not being compensated for my master's degree because the calculator includes hours earned only during Deer Valley employment. I found out that newly hired teachers had been compensated for their master's degree, along with teachers who earned their master's while working in the district. However, teachers like me who earned their advanced degree prior to coming to Deer Valley would not have those 36 hours included. And I'm concerned because these inconsistencies negatively affect staff morale, and I'm afraid of how this will affect teachers in our district. If this district chooses to ignore my advanced degree, I will not earn $1,800 during the next school year. And if I decide to continue on and stay with our Deer Valley and I retire early in 13 years, that's $23,000 in wages. It's the most insulting part of the situation was, that I was told that there's no grievance process. And this makes me feel that after all my hard work and dedication that I'm viewed as expendable. There's there was no process to hear my concern, and that's why I'm here tonight. I'm hoping that all of this is just a huge mistake, and that because I would hate to think that, you know, when the opportunity came to pay me a salary to offset years of underpayment, that the decision was made not to honor my advanced degree. And ignoring an advanced degree directly related to one's position is really unheard of in our neighboring districts, and quite honestly, it's not heard of anywhere in the field of education. I feel it's shameful, and it's not what our district has ever stood for. We stand for continuous improvement, and stagnancy has never been acceptable. So I'm hoping that you will send a strong message of value to your teachers with advanced degrees, and acknowledge the teachers who have persevered through challenging times. I'm hoping that you will either reverse the decision or correct an error, and fund our master's degrees.
Thank you. Kendra, then Ann, then Chris, Deanna, and Gary.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity to talk.
Sorry, just say your full name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kendra Burringrud. I'm a speech therapist in the district. I work at Anthem in Boulder Creek. So I originally wanted to come because I thought we were going to be excluded from the Prop 123 raises, but really looking at year after year, we continue to lose therapists due to district pay, and we continue to have a national shortage of therapists, especially SLPs, and then with OT and PT following close behind them. But due to demands of IDEA and federal law, we have to provide related services, and we are very necessary service providers for thousands of students in the district. So each year we have several positions open that we can't fill, and then we have to have a contractor fill those spots that cost the district more money. Also, we don't have a team member on a campus that's consistent with the team and invested in the team. So, you know, we're the ones at the IEP meetings, long hours, doing lots of paperwork on our own time all the time. So the other thing too is we're at these IEP meetings, and families come to us and say, we want more speech, we want more OT, we want more PT, we always want more services because there's a national shortage. They're not getting that outside help either. So the other thing is too, we do Medicaid billing, so we generate revenue for the district, and we raise funds. And right now, basically, what I'm hearing, and maybe you can correct me, is so basically what you're doing is you're taking our addendums, so a lot of us do have hard to fill addendums, and then you're just moving $500 from our addendum to our salary. Is that correct? So the bottom line still is the same. That's the way I'm interpreting it. And then we also have a whole set of SLPAs who are considered classified, who also bill for Medicaid, do a lot of the direct services for our students, and I don't even know what the classified, or if that's even been addressed through Prop 123. But, I mean, really, most therapists can leave and make more money in other districts. And we continue to have a turnover of therapists, and right now there's really no financial incentive for most of us to stay with the district. We would potentially get, most of the time, a $7,000 to $8,000 raise leaving for another district. So, I mean, it's an issue. We definitely need therapists on teams. They have to be a part. And right now what I'm seeing is we're not having any kind of system in place to retain therapists, you know, promote them. There's no financial incentives for us at this time. And Prop 123, basically what I just hear is I don't get any more money from it. I just get money changed from my base to my addendum. So.
Okay. With that, Jim, Kendra, can you kind of talk, and this formula that we have is kind of complicated, and I think, Kendra, you're missing part of the piece here.
Okay.
So I would ask either you talk to Jim or myself. I would be happy to try to explain. But anyway, thank you. Ann Olson, Chris Terry, Deanna, and Gary.
Hi, my name's Ann Olson. I'm a physical therapist in the district for all the schools north of Happy Valley. I understand that everyone would like to have more money, and I understand it's a difficult decision making all the adjustments, and I do recognize that where you work is not just based on your salary. There are other factors nice work environments, nice people to work with, and I do feel like Deer Valley is a good place to work. But having said that, when I did finally read the write-out today, it did upset me, like I almost started crying for a minute, was that the money's going to be taken away from my addendum to put in my base salary, and I understand you're trying to. Some people are making less, and you're trying to even out a little bit, which I don't really understand that why. But the addendum was offered to me when I came to work here, based on my years of experience, and the district benefits from my years of experience. So I don't feel that people's addendums should be touched because they're bringing that experience to you. The district's benefiting from it. I don't think that money should be changed. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay, and again, same thing, and I think we need a better explanation because I think we're missing something in the formula here. So I would hope that after the meeting, one of administration reach out to you.
That you would get a $500 added to your base pay, but if you had an addendum over $2,000, they would take $500 out of the addendum.
Okay. There's a little more to that
right?
formula, and because I think you're hard to fill as well. So there's just as Kendra is as well.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, but we want to make sure we're clear. Then we can argue the merits of the point. But
okay.
Yeah, well. Yeah, it's. We're going to work on it. Okay. Chris, Terry, Deanna, and then Gary.
President Gregoire, board members, Dr. Weitenheimer, staff, community members. I come before you as a member of the DVUSD counseling community. My name is Chris Terry, and I've been a counselor in the district for 17 years, 16 at Deer Valley High School, and it's been a pleasure to work in the district. I have great respect for educators, administrators, and staff that contribute to the education of our youth. I do have some concerns and questions about the recent information dealing with compensation of staff relative to Prop 123. With little communication the counselors have received, it's been very lacking in details and confusing at best, as we're hearing this evening. Aside from current discussions around compensation for certified teachers, additional education, and longevity, we were not even in the mix. And then we were told that it would be the same as teachers, and then we were told it was not. As you know, counselors are identified as other support staff, yet we are hired and paid under the certified teacher salary criteria. When it came to 301 performance pay monies, we were not considered direct instruction in the classroom. Regardless of what teachers get, we receive 2% of our yearly salary. This year alone, I personally will be receiving performance pay monies less than half of what teachers will get. And remember, I'm still on the teacher salary, certification scale, the salary scale. Since that occurred about 3 years ago, counselors now have begun to fall behind pay comparative to teachers. Now with the Prop 123, we would like some clarification on how we will be compensated. We are not in a separate category as administrators, psychologists, OTs, and PTs, who, by the way, are at higher salaries than we are. We received a direction from the governing board that we were determined that Prop 123 would be used to address salary inconsistencies based on years of service. We don't have higher salaries than teachers. We are on the same scale. But we just have master's degrees. So what that means is if a teacher comes in with a master's degree and a counselor comes in with a master's degree, we're compensated the same. We're aware that you try to compensate the teachers, but we're also in the same boat here. Be honest, I'm approaching 18 years. I have a 60-hour master's degree. I don't even hit 50. I don't hit 50K. So there's a lot of inconsistencies, longevity, and whatnot. And I'm sure there's a lot of other counselors in the same boat as myself. So the questions I ask you to consider as discussions continue is, will counselors be equally compensated as teachers will be in the future? Will counselors be part of future discussions concerning pay increases? And should counselors remain under the certified teacher pay scale if we do not reap all of the benefits that teachers do, or should we have a position? Should our position be reevaluated and placed under another section? So I appreciate your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. And again, Deanna and then Gary.
Let me know if you don't hear me because I am a low talker, so I apologize up front. I just wanted to say that we chose education.
Could you please state your name first?
Oh, sorry, Deanna Sandquist. I apologize also for my handwriting. We chose education. We chose to dedicate ourselves to the dreams of others, to support our students who may be experiencing anger, loss, or lack of success by allowing them to be themselves in a setting that respects their privacy, which may be outside of the classroom. It may only be for a few minutes, an understanding word or a simple act of kindness that allows the student to return and be prepared to participate in the academic arena. We all support students and their success, but do our actions and investment in kindness end with the students? In my opinion, when everyone is treated with equity and dignity, everyone wins. It is my hope that Deer Valley will consider all staff essential in supporting the whole child while maintaining safety for our children and our campuses. And I do say that my community, we're all hands on deck. Our parent volunteers, to our monitors, to our principals, we're all there and present supporting students. And so to me, it seems equitable that everybody be treated with dignity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Gary.
Hello, good evening. My name is Dr. Gary Zerbach. I am the father of two boys in the Deer Valley School District, a second grader and a fifth grader. They attend Stetson Hills. And I come here today to voice my support for quality salary increases for all the support staff in the school district. When my wife and I moved from Wisconsin approximately 6 years ago, the quality of the local school district was one of the primary drivers that we were considering, or one of the primary factors that we were considering in terms of where we wanted to move when we came to Arizona. Deer Valley certainly has that reputation of being a high-performing and a world-class educational organization. In order for that reputation to continue, which I know that the board wants it to, the ability to attract and retain talent is going to be one of the most important factors that the district will be able to do in order to sustain that high-performing student achievement and, again, to attract and retain this talent. But we must work to not only retain and attract talent in the administrative and the teaching ranks, but also in the support staff positions as well. We know that it takes a tribe to raise our children, and I'm concerned about the message that we send as a community when we say that one group deserves more than another group in our schools. And so I hope that our board will consider that message and make sure that the message we send is one that we value all for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now I guess it's time for conversation or any comments from the board. I'll kick it off here. And Jim, a couple questions kind of arose. One was actually a comment from, I think, the counselor who said they get paid on the same scale as certified. They get hired on the same scale as certified. Is that the same with the physical, speech therapists, OTs? Are they on the same certified scale when we hire them?
President Gregoire, none of those positions are, including the counselors.
Okay, they're not on the same certified. Okay. Oh, the past education issue, and I've stumbled across this earlier, and it's my concern, at least as myself, I'd like to revisit this issue because it's not the intent, at least I don't think it was the intent of the board to preclude any education, but it's just we didn't have that information. I think a lot of, we hired a lot of teachers and that didn't have that information, so we don't have it in our records, and that's my understanding. And as a board, before we commit to going back and addressing full education, I think we'll need some type of effort to get that data and determine a dollar value before we can even consider it. So with that being said, and this is something for a later project, hopefully, that we can get that information from our teachers. I'm not sure why it wasn't gotten when they were hired, but I don't know the process either, so I'm not going to criticize that. But I would hope that we could do that. And kind of, again, the whole idea behind this initiative, or these raises for, at least for certified, were to even the pay scale. For instance, 10-year teachers are getting close to at least being paid the same, not as a first-year teacher, and which we had a lot of that happening. And we also valued the teacher's education, and by precluding it, it doesn't send the right message, I think.
President Gregoire, if I may, you are correct. We one of the challenges that we had is we just didn't have the information stored for us to be able to calculate it. But we did spot check the impact of the calculator because, again, we were trying to deal with the inconsistencies of the salaries. So there are a couple things that the calculator didn't do well, this being one of them. And where we found that this created the largest problem is if somebody were to gain those professional growth hours and not have any years of experience to bring in with them in the position that they would have filled. In one case, we have one employee who actually went on and got their master's degree and never actually worked. Their first job was with a master's degree in our district, and we didn't value any of that because all of those professional hours were earned before their hire date. In the case where somebody brought professional hours and experience, we valued that at the $800 amount for each year of service, and so that actually mitigated the impact of the professional growth hours in terms of trying to deal with the inconsistency. But in some cases, obviously not having the records, we weren't able to quantify or systematically address the professional growth credit issue.
Well, if that latter one is true, putting that into the formula still wouldn't change the end result salary. So if we did you know what I'm saying?
Correct. That's a great point, is that so what the calculator does, it determines a predictive salary, and then it determines what the flat increase would be to their existing salary, and it gives them the higher of the two. And unless those professional growth credit hours would increase their predicted salary, this is also true with years of service, by the way, it doesn't change the outcome of giving them the larger of the two. Yeah. If their hours don't increase their predictive salary above what their existing salary plus the flat increase would be.
Okay, so anyway, and I would ask the superintendent that we can open this for discussion as soon as we get that data. I really believe that we should honor the education that our teachers bring to the district, and we can then at a future time consider it. But I think it's important that we do. Also, and I'm going to try to clarify a lot of when we talk about this Prop 123 money, we're not including the $1,400. So in essence, everybody's getting a $1,400. That came from our override. And the 500, or they call them the 500 Club, which is everybody's going to get at least a minimum of 500. The conversation was. So a lot of it went to correcting the salary structures. Like I mentioned, we had some teachers up here who are 10-year teachers are only getting $2,000 more than first-year teachers because we had such a freeze in salary over these years that they could never move up. But we kept hiring teachers at that beginning salary range. So we tried the best we could to value our employees as evenly as possible, and fortunately it didn't mean bigger raises for a lot of folks. And all I can say is I wish we had more because it's not that we don't value, we just we're trying to do the best we can and keep the high quality teachers that we have. So with that being said, I think everybody that spoke at the podium, I'd hope that somebody would get back to them, at least one-on-one, to try to explain their unique situation, because with this increase, it is a unique situation for everybody. So, those are my comments. Anyone else?
I just have a question.
Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Miglerino, this little issue that we just uncovered with lack of data, lack of information on some of these educational degrees that people have. Can you give me some insights into that? Isn't that something that the HR department should have taken care of long ago?
President Gregoire, Mr. Bear, the information just was not stored and has not been stored, so it wasn't available.
That's it? I mean, who should be doing that?
I'm sorry, I should have been more specific. It was not stored in our electronic system to be able to systematically use that data to include it in the calculator. We have the hard copy records of information from when people were employed.
Yeah, again, shouldn't that be a function of the HR department to make sure that all that information is uploaded?
Mr. Bear, I think
to answer the question, yes, it is a function of HR.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And if I may, one of the things that we did look at, and these are again averages, but the teacher average increase using the calculator, 4.2% was the average increase of including both the M&O override and the Prop 123. The same is true with the various groups within the other professional staff. So, for example, counselors, 4.3%, nurses, 5.3%, occupational therapists, 3.9%, speech, 6.5%. So there is, I know there are lots of numbers that I'm throwing out here, but there is $240,000 worth of salary increases that are happening. About half of that, and I'm just speaking in general, half of that is hard to fill addenda because many of those people that have been in those positions have not enjoyed that, and then half of it is the flat dollar increase for the other professional staff. So with that, I'll.
Okay. Mrs. Fisher.
Jim, even though we didn't have it in the system as a per hour, when we look towards hiring, because I know the districts I've been hired with my bachelor's and my master's, they don't ask me how many hours. They have my transcripts. They don't ask them. They don't put in my hours. They give me a flat amount for my bachelor's and a secondary for my master's. When we originally hired these individuals, is it kind of a similar situation? So it's already calculated in there. So then as the calculator, even though it doesn't show it, is there a way for us to see that it's still considered, even if it's not considered as the hours, since everybody was held positive? Do you understand what I guess maybe
President Gregoire, Ms. Fisher, yes, I understand the question. And yes, so we do have highest degree earned stored, but we don't have how many hours it took for them to earn that highest degree.
Could we look at just for analysis reasons, could we look at like a base, like a master's is generally 150 credit hours. Some are higher based on that's total bachelor's and master's, but some of them are higher or lower within 20 credit hours, depending on what your specialty is. Could we just do a calculation to see what that would, to see where the discrepancies are, throw it into Excel and see the discrepancies, because my original response when I read that was, well, when I heard the comments and read here, I'm thinking, well, no, it talks about, full hours. But then when we also, in some of our discussions, we talked about that it's already considered in these individuals that are newly coming in that wouldn't have information in our system. They were hired at a higher rate because it was already considered in that flat fee, that flat salary. So I want to make sure that it's in there. I don't want to count it twice, but I do want to make sure it's counted. And I'm just trying to think of a way that we could see that.
Again, President Gregoire, Ms. Fisher, the only challenge I see is we would know their highest degree earned in either instance, whether it was earned pre-employment with us or post-employment, but we wouldn't know which hours to apply to with the extra hours that they earn. So, for example, an employee that that we hired, and we know they have a master's degree, we wouldn't know how many of the hours after the master's degree to give them credit for, because we wouldn't know if they got the master's degree before or after we hired them. It simply would say that they have a master's degree.
Okay.
Right, but aren't we trying, isn't the whole purpose to see that we are accounting for their full credit? In other words, I guess I'm trying to clarify maybe what is being asked as well as what we have. And that's the part that I'm kind of confused in. So if we have, okay, if I have a master's degree, well, I do have a master's degree, but as with my master's degree, you hire me as a math teacher. I've never taught, so it'd be a first year. Am I going to be hired at $34,000 flat, and none of my degree counts until I get my first, professional development class here at Deer Valley? I guess that's what I'm saying, to identify the areas where those are missed. Is that the potential? Is that what do we have the capability of finding that out?
Not systematically.
Okay. I'm going to go on an order here and okay. Okay, we're going to, like I said, we're going to have the administration contact you to make sure. Okay. And before you do that, Ann, Kim, you're right. We did hire from out of the district based on education. And Jim was trying to explain by using that $800 a year and the master's formula. But he also tried to explain, too, that if you throw that into the conversion, there's still higher pay even if you did consider that education in that 700 formula that we use. So yes, you're because other districts use master's degree, we use number of education hours, so they're not exact in the conversion. So anyway, Mrs. O'Brien.
One of my first questions is how do we ensure we get all of these groups represented in an NST? I don't need an answer right now, but I'd like that to be on our radar going forward. Is that I don't know if it's another professional group or if we could look into that, Dr. Weitenheimer, so that I don't, and I'm not sure that that's the right answer, that it's in NST, or if we could look into that and see how we go from there. And then Mr. Miglorino, I didn't want to clarify, and I apologize because maybe this is what Mrs. Fisher was asking, is that if we hire a teacher today for the new school year, and they're like your example where they have a master's degree and no teaching experience, they're going to come in at the starting salary of $35,100, I believe. That's what we approved. Is that correct?
President Gregoire, Ms. O'Brien, no, they would be given credit for their years of their professional hours for their master's degree.
Okay, so roundabout, that would mean they would have 60, for the master's degree, that would be like 60 hours. I promise not to put it in blood. Yeah. Is that roughly what that would work out to be? Or just 30 for the master's?
I don't want to hazard a guess.
Okay.
In a public forum, so I'm going to jot down your question and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Michael, I have a question.
Okay.
So Jim, this human resources, but prior to this year, did we count a first-year teacher with no experience and a master's? Did they get credit for hours for the master's?
President Gregoire, Ms. Ordway, yes, they did.
Okay. So we've always counted that professional degree in a salary?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Okay. Any comment? I apologize for that ding. I have a security system at home and an autistic boy, and every time the door opens, it dings. So I can't turn it off. Calling the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
we're approving the salary recommendation. All those against? We already had the motion in the second.
I know.
If we're going to approve this as it is there an opportunity to adjust? I mean, we don't want to stop anyone from moving forward, but is there an option for us to say, okay, we're going to approve it, this is where we're at, now let's look to anything that needs to be corrected? Are we going to have that opportunity? Because I don't want to ring a bell I can't unring.
President Gregoire, Ms. Fisher, yes, in fact, as we've kind of alluded to the board, this probably is not the last salary recommendation revision that we need to bring before you. The Department of Labor has altered the exempt status salary requirement, and we have to become compliant within December 1st. And we had a different salary increase for our classified staff than our exempt staff. So we're doing the analysis now in terms of making that adjustment and converting some of our exempt employees on salary ranges 1 through 4 and converting them into classified employees. And in all fairness to them, we believe that we should undo the flat increase from the M&O override and give them the classified increase, which would be the 2.5% plus the $1,200 flat increase from the M&O override, as opposed to the $1,900 flat increase that we previously approved with them. So it makes sense to do that for the start of the fiscal year. Many of these employees are on more than a 9-month contract, 10-month contracts, 12-month contracts in some cases. So we intended to bring that to the board on June 28th. I don't believe that we'll have a solution to some of the concerns that have been brought up regarding the calculator, but there would be no reason that we couldn't consider using some of the unallocated funds from Prop 123. Remember, we had the list of, and I know I'm going to say the word, I apologize in advance, the list of requirements, and we turned that into an unallocated amount. We are suggesting that unallocated amount fund the other professional staff that we have before your consideration this evening, but that still leaves a balance of some of the unallocated amount that could go towards other corrections or adjustments, as you may, if you may wish to call it that, that we can consider for some of the concerns that are being raised.
So then I guess that would be the request, is just that we, as we move forward, that we at least look to identify the areas of concern.
Okay.
I have one additional comment. I would also like to remind everybody out there, one, thank you for bringing the concerns, but two, that we were cutting, or the Deer Valley Governing Board has been cutting this budget for 8 years now. We cannot fix all of the problems that created in 1 year because we don't have an unlimited funding source. So I hope that you will understand that you are all valued, and we need to continue working on this. The right solution may not come all in 1 year. We may have to take steps to get there. So
okay.
Thank you,
I'm
President
going to
Gregoire.
call it now. We were right in the middle of a vote. I'm going to recall the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against, nay. And again, we'll probably revisit the June 28th meeting, but for now, this is the standard. Okay.
You ready?
Item 8. Go ahead, Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is item 8A through 8J, the consent agenda. I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the consent agenda items 8A through 8J.
Alex, second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Action item 9A, approve human resource changes. Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the human resources changes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did we want to comment about the
You want to welcome our new
assistant principals? No? Yes? Okay. Move on. Item 9B, approve performance pay for super.
Are they here? Are our assistant principals
they?
here? Well, could we please announce?
We
Gail?
have to state who they are and welcome them.
Gail.
Mrs. Dr. Galligan, could you,
Not to put you on the spot, we just hired some new assistant principals.
are they?
Do you want to announce them?
I'm not sure.
President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr.
that's
Weitenheimer.
somewhere here.
Our new assistant principals that we are very proud to announce would be Nikki Powell is assistant principal moving from Deer Valley Middle School to Desert Sky Middle School. Mr. Jay Kopus was a teacher on assignment at Boulder Creek High School and will move into the assistant principal
Jay,
position
stand up.
at Boulder Creek High School.
Stand up, Jay, and turn red, please.
Thank you, President
See,
Gregoire.
Jay, now you're going to have to attend these meetings for
For
Are
all
you-
time.
too late. Okay, let's move item 9B, approve performance pay for superintendent. Can I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that the governing board approve the performance pay for the Deer Valley Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. James Weitenheimer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any conversation?
I want to make a comment. While I feel that the superintendent has done a wonderful job this year, one commitment that I have always made is that I will not be a rubber stamping board member. And I believe that all performance pay should be based on true performance. And I do not believe, while I do believe he is deserving of at least 95% of his performance pay, I do not believe it's at 100%. And I do know that I will most likely be outvoted on that, but I do want my statement on the record.
Okay, statement, no amending.
I know a move to amend would fail, and so I don't believe that, I think it's better that I just abstain.
Okay. Any other comments?
President Gregoire.
No, we're still, we have the motion in a second, we still.
I would like to thank Dr. Weitenheimer for all of his hard work this last year. I appreciate that Deer Valley continues to grow and succeed under your leadership. So thank you, Dr. Weitenheimer.
I will say the same, and you've seen a lot, and you've moved forward, and I don't think that because we look at facts and information that means if we agree with something that we're rubber stamping. I think that we are making a choice to make a decision. So thank you very much for your service.
And I would say everything about that except for the University of Texas part, which might knock you down another 5%, but well, I guess that's not on the forum. But so with that, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, letter.
Against?
All those against? All those abstaining?
Nay.
I will abstain.
3-1-1. Item 9C, adopt second revision of the fiscal year 2015-16 budget. Vice President Bear, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. President, thank you. I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to adopt the second revision to the fiscal year 2015-16 expenditure budget.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We had a public meeting before this on this very topic, and there were no comments then, so I see none now. Call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 5-0. Item 9D, approved job order contract. Mr. Bear.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the job order contract, or JOC, in the amount of $465,370.13 for the Mountain Ridge High School CTE Media Production Improvement Project to Skyline Builders and Restoration, Inc.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, preview items. 2016-17 Classroom Site Fund. Jim.
President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr. Weidenheimer. So each year at this time, we bring before you the Classroom Site Fund, the plan. This is generated from what we refer to as, affectionately refer to as Proposition 301, voted on by the voters in the year 2000. It's a sales tax initiative that provides specific money within 3 different funds that we have to maintain. Those 3 funds include a base salary increase, a performance pay component, and then what we refer to as menu items. What this is the actual plan for 15-16, just for comparative purposes. And you can see that the amount per pupil in the upper left-hand corner, $327 per weighted student count. That amount comes directly from the JLBC, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee, and it gets multiplied by the student count that after it's been weighted. So the Group A and B weighted student count for our district then is divided by the total number of qualifying FTE. For the most part, that ends up being just teachers. There was a Court of Appeals ruling that basically defined who is eligible for these funds, and for the 15-16 year, that was 1,914 FTE, or full-time equivalency. The money gets split between the 3 different, we like to call them pots. So 20% of it goes into base salary, and then 40% respectively goes into performance pay and the menu monies. That money then is divided by the qualifying FTE to determine what the amount will be for each of the employees. So in 2015-16, $1,160 in the base salary amount is included in the teacher's salary. Their performance pay amount, $2,210, and then their combination of the $920 and $690 was included in their base salary, which is roughly almost 73% of the total allocation in 2015-16 is in teachers' base salary amounts. For 16-17, I got these slides out of order, I apologize. What we are proposing, the per pupil amount increasing to $332, our qualifying FTE increasing to 1,932. So the projected per pupil amount, $1,120 out of the base salary, a performance pay amount of $2,240, and then the combination of the $935 and $680 for roughly just over 72% of the total allocation going to teacher salary amounts. The balance of that goes towards, and there's a list of items, that's why we refer to it as the menu bucket. Those include AIMS intervention, which will be assessment interventions because AIMS no longer exists, or at least it only exists in science, and then teacher development, mostly professional development and other supports for our teaching staff. And so that basically develops the plan within the Classroom Site Fund. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. This is a preview item. We'll be bringing this back to the board for your consideration at the June 28th meeting.
Mr. Bear, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Miglerino, I've been on this board 12 years, and every year there's been problems with this, without exception. And I look at this and I see AIMS intervention on here for 19.3% on the, I guess you call that the menu. There's always been questions ever since I've been on this board as to what exactly that does and what that money is spent for. So I'd like some information. What exactly are we going to spend that money on?
Again, a lot of this is professional development, so it includes information or expenses that support various curricular needs of the district. Many of those end up being either extra duty pay for teachers to come in off contract to receive the professional development, or information or it affords us the ability to hire substitute teachers to provide that professional development during the school year.
Wouldn't that already be included right down here in the teacher development part of the menu?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking about both AIMS intervention and teacher development. All the teacher development includes that professional development that I was speaking of. The AIMS intervention that's above are our, hard for me to say, our assessments. So we have some online tools that we use for student assessment. And it's basically to pay for software expenses related with that.
And that's going to account for just under $1 million? 995,000, is that?
650,000 of that is for our assessment system, School City, and I'm having to look this up.
Jim, before you do, and I'm trying to nip this in the bud, actually, I have the same questions as Mr. Bear, and I would like an itemized list of the 1574 for increased to hiring schedule. I was on the board then. It was under Dr. McCallier, and that was to help bolster the salary schedule among all employees, correct?
President Gregoire, yeah, the $1.5 million was to adjust the starting salary and deal with compression through years 5. I believe that was done around the year 2007.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, if you could, we would like an itemized list of what the expenditures are on this. Again, the teacher development for 15 and 16, if I look at the past slide, I think that was only 500,000, and for this year it's 1.1 million. So can you flip back to the other 15, 16 slide?
Yes.
Yep, 537,000, and now it doubles, and I'm just curious what that's paying for. Again, I've been in the district long enough, and one of the two of the two things teachers talk about is salaries and site fund salaries. So I just want to make sure however we're spending this money that is justified. I know by the law and the statute, we are unable to support some of our programs through this fund, and it'd be silly not to consider which programs need that support to pull funding. But I think for open disclosure or transparency, I think we really need specifics on this.
I personally would like an explanation on that $995,000 there for AIMS intervention in terms of exactly what we're going to spend that money on, because there's been problems ever since I've been on this board, which is 12 years, with teachers not feeling like they've really got what this is supposed to do. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, we need to put 100% of this to the teachers for a change.
Okay.
And we would most willingly provide the details for the board. We'll do so in a Friday update. Again, this is a preview item this evening. Just a point of, because I think it's important for us to just keep this on our radar. The voters approved this, but they only approved it for 20 years. So it actually expires in the year 2021, which is not that far out in the future. Much of what you see in terms of the dollars that we've allocated within the AIMS intervention and teacher development has to do with the carry forward amount that we have. And that will not be replenished. So if we were to put that into salary, we wouldn't be able to sustain that out of this fund. And this fund is going to expire, or something's going to have to replace it, which I hope it's the latter as opposed to the former.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, let's move on as a preview item. Item 10B, 2016-17 Deer Valley Education Foundation Memorandum of Understanding. Can I have a motion, Mr. Bear?
It's just a preview.
Oh, you're right.
No
There is
action
no.
required.
That's next meeting. A brief explanation, Jim, if you could.
Yeah, President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr. Weidenheimer, I know that Ms. Brennan's in the, or she was, yes, she is behind me, the executive director for the Deer Valley Education Foundation. We've enjoyed the relationship and the partnership that we've had with DVEF for many years. And this is a continuation of that partnership with the foundation. We did have this reviewed by our attorney because there have been some questions in the past regarding the gift clause. We have shared the legal opinion with you that states that this agreement does meet the requirements of the gift clause for the state of Arizona. and we're happy to bring this before you so that we can enjoy that relationship for yet one more year, and maybe many years after that. This is just happens to be for next year, 2016-17.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Ms. Fisher?
Yeah, I know last year I was concerned not so much for the gift clause, but because the law reference that was in it referenced a law that wasn't applicable to this situation. And I did briefly look at the gift clauses. Is there, just making sure, devil's advocate, that there isn't any law that we need to reference? I notice there's none in here now, and I'm good with that. If there isn't any legal reference that we need to include in here. And I didn't go super deep into the opinion we received because it was specific to the gift clause. Do we know if there's anything that we need to reference?
President Gregoire,
Just in the
Ms.
agreement.
Fisher, yeah, so the reference, previous reference that we had was the Wistaber ruling, the Paradise Valley versus Wistaber ruling, which was then altered in some ways by the City North ruling. And so both of those are actually speaking to the gift clause. So instead of trying to reference the Wistaber and City North case law in what we've provided, it's really both of those are speaking to the Constitution gift clause. And so we just simply simplified that by including just the gift clause reference on the notation, as was been suggested by our attorney's review.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other comments, we'll move on. We got a few policies here to go over. I would ask the board, I'm just going to ask you to continue on, and if you want to speak on a particular policy, just stop the speaker and move forward. But I would like to go through these because I think a lot of these are just incremental things. So.
Mr. Gregoire, you're exactly correct. A number of these are just clarifications, and we will take them, we'll show them to you one at a time, and then we've got 3 weeks before the 28th. If you have any follow-up questions or anything at that time, we'd be happy to respond to those. If you'll go ahead and roll through, I have the first 3. They're in the B section. That's you. It is BEC, executive session, open meetings, BEDA, notification of board meetings, and BEDH, public participation at board meetings. No changes of any substance. ASBA recommendations for wording clarification.
Mr. Bear.
No changes of substance, just rewording?
That's basically what they're doing, is trying to make it more clear, and there are no substantive changes to these policies. In other words, they haven't changed the wording for public speaking. They haven't changed any of the substantive things for us. Accepting these clarification changes allows them to keep the copyright from ASBA, which allows them to help us defend it if it's ever questioned. So when it's possible, we want to keep the ASB copyrighted version of these policies.
Just add clarification since, just add clarification.
Well,
Basically what we're doing in all of these, because I did review them, this section, the B section, is simply clarifying the postings at the 24 hours in a completely stated. Am I correct in that assessment?
Yeah, and it doesn't. Right, it doesn't change any of our actions. It just clarifies those things.
Okay.
They're not all like this, but these particular group they are. So we can go to the G section: discipline, suspension, dismissal, or professional staff members.
Who's got that?
And I'm going to
Jim is going to
I'm going to take a stab at
HR.
this. President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr. Weitenheimer. The main change here is on the appeal for employee discipline. We've changed the reference from assistant superintendent to a superintendent cabinet member, because we also want to make sure that there are options available to us, so there's not a conflict of interest when somebody might be hearing an appeal. And instead of changing assistant superintendent to deputy superintendent, that would only give us 2 options to hear an appeal. The rest of it are conforming changes per the ASBA recommended language.
Okay. Seeing no comments. JFAB.
Jim, if you'll do that one as well, please.
Yeah, so this is, Dr. Corson's here, so he can assist me if need be. But this, I like to refer to this as the Casa Grande inclusion. So there is an elite soccer school in Casa Grande that they allow folks from around the country and maybe even internationally to attend. And this gives the provision within our policy to allow for other types of students to be able to be tuition students into our district.
So we can compete against Casa Grande?
So we could compete, and I believe it is some sort of national program.
Okay.
That was just me.
Okay, any other comments of substance? Item JK? Student discipline.
Dan?
Yes, policy JK student discipline. ASBA has recommended various changes, including changes to clarify language, adding new language that states that discipline, suspension, and expulsion of students shall not be based on the student's disabilities, among other protected groups such as race, religion, sex, and ancestry that are already mentioned in this policy. Also included in this policy revision is new language directing the principals of each school ensure that a process is in place to communicate school and district rules with their students each year and with all incoming students at the time of their registration. Our legal counsel has reviewed these policy changes and supports the recommendations.
I do have a question here, and it says, and it's on the sheet, with and without disabilities. Is this behavior management for students with disabilities? Because with and without just kind of means everybody. Because you're going, the way I read that.
Yeah, President Gregoire, members of the board, I do believe the intention of that is to include that we don't suspend or discipline students based solely on a student's disability.
Okay, I'm reading it the wrong way then. Okay, never mind. Any other questions, comments? JLDB.
I'll take that one as well. President Gregoire, members of the board. JLDB is restraint and seclusion. This policy was a former regulation that is now being recommended to become a new board policy. There has been no content changes to this current regulation that is being proposed to become a new board policy. Our legal firm has also reviewed this new policy and recommends it as presented.
Any comments? None? What legal firm? Ours?
Cantelmi and Brown.
Okay. Any other questions? None? Item KF, community use of schools.
President Gregoire, members of the board, Dr. Weinheimer. This policy is, there are some conforming changes just so that we could keep our policy consistent with ASBA, but the main thrust of the change is Policy Advisory 551, which basically requires that the renters of our facilities would have to name us as additionally insured. So it creates some other immunities for us within our rental of our facilities.
Okay. Questions, comments? None? KHC.
And I'll stand in for Monica. A policy is being revised to clarify the practice of non-school promotional flyers. We currently have a system, it was in policy, where we stack flyers at the campus, which makes no one happy, neither the business, the parent, that doesn't get it. And so this transitions that practice into an online flyer system that parents can opt in or opt out of. It has been reviewed by Dave Cantelmi with Cantelmi and Brown, and we offer it to you as an adjustment to policy KHC.
Okay. Do these items profit the school? Do
these? These are non-profit, these are non-profit promotional items. So that would not be these flyers. This is nothing for sale.
For putting it on our distribution.
There are alternatives that we have on our website and in other areas where we have business agreements where there's remuneration. This one addresses a different segment of our of our world, and again, it's the stuff that normally gets stacked outside the office or on the front desk, and it's going to go electronic.
Okay, great.
And if you do have additional questions, Monica dealt with David pretty significantly on this one as we made that transition, and she'll be back tomorrow. So we've got 3 weeks. We can make any kind of clarification that you would want.
Comments? See none. That's it for our preview items. We finished all our public comments earlier. Future meetings are posted. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.